What up, team? It's your boy Griff here. First ever episode at the Earn the Weekend podcast with one of my closest clients, dear friends, probably world-renowned mayor of Heroes Fitness.
Thank you. That's my proudest title.
Welcome, Steve Kraus.
It's an honor to be on the first ever Earn the Weekend podcast. This is going to be like Rogan level.
Pretty much, without the weed, like without the hardcore drugs.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll be drinking like matcha teas.
Right. I'd love to have a beer here while we do this. I'm a little nervous.
Or black coffee.
I do drink black coffee. You got me into black coffee. That was a good change in my life.
I actually got you into that?
Well, you're like so annoying with your like fitness, health stuff. But
yeah.
It actually, when you don't, you're like, why do you need cream in your coffee?
No, I mean, why do you need it? Just to feel good?
I don't think you need it. I think you would convince me of that. Now, I'm not going to do like, eat kale salads and, flaxseed almond oatmeal.
What did I say one time where it was like, was it my facial routine?
Oh, your facial routine.
Yeah. I think that was a little disappointing. Oh, no, this is what it was. Is when I went to New York and we were at the Equinox Hotel and I got a very questionable breakfast.
Beet.
Yeah, it was a yogurt parfait.
It's like very Tom Brady-esque, very like avocado ice cream. Would you ever eat avocado ice cream?
Oh, 100%. I'm barely eating ice cream anyways.
Like if I went to your house right now and I opened your medicine cabinet, maybe is that what
medicine cabinet?
I know that sounds like I'm 85 years old. You know what I'm talking about, like your whatever. How many lotions, face lotions would you have?
Probably too many.
How many?
15.
15?
Yeah.
And what's the average price point of a face lotion that you buy? $100?
Between, I would say 35 to $100.
Okay,
yeah.
So you're spending $1,500 on your face lotions.
That's
like 15 Euro sessions. Just think about that.
Yeah.
I have no face lotion.
You don't even do any.
I don't do face lotion.
Yeah.
I do sunscreen.
Every day?
No. I know people say UV light and stuff like that. I'm like working in my office. What do I need suntan lotion for?
Well, as being in healthcare, do you have anyone do you know what the damaging effects are every day?
Yes. But I don't go outside. I don't go outside a lot. I sit on my computer.
You coach baseball though.
I wear suntan lotion when I coach baseball.
And now do you look at the ingredients of that stuff?
Absolutely not. A spray bottle, copper tone.
Yeah.
I like the smell.
You're not worried about anything.
I mean, I think lifestyle matters.
Okay.
I believe that. But at the same time, I think you have to balance that with having fun.
How much balance? Well, balance of having fun, in the sense of
I'd rather have fun in the limited time I have in this earth than necessarily think about every single thing I put in my body. I know we're different about that.
No, 100%. And I'm a little more on the aggressive side, which I've seen, I've just seen a lot of people deteriorate in a way.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I start to feel right around 45, you probably saw it with me, I start to feel, the age effect. And so I try to be a little more mindful.
Like going to Be Good or something like that?
No, I'm not going that far.
Yeah. What's your mindful things? What do you do? I mean...
Less drinking.
Really?
Yeah, that will
when you did your hip surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I got my hip done, I was like, okay, I'm going to be out. I'm a pretty social person, so I was going to be not as much
Party
around
Steve.
the boys summer Steve. And I lost 15 pounds.
Because I would say,
back on.
Yeah, we just put that back on. We'll work on that. But I would say we've been training a while.
7 years.
Yeah. And you really locked it in that COVID year.
Well, guess what I wasn't doing when COVID was around?
Yeah.
Not seeing anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you feel? You pretty much...
I felt great.
Yeah. We're not saying I'm not saying drinking is always bad.
No.
Even though the world...
Well, the thing is, it's my job. Okay, I'll give you last week. I just was in New York and I had, three investments that we closed on, and there's closing dinners and, I don't know, it's hard you're there and there's wine passed and you're going to be that's the stuff that builds up. In COVID, you didn't do any of that.
Nothing.
It was me and Sarah and online games with friends, and I'm not going to sit there and, have a cocktail when we do that. That's needless. So I got into good shape then. I had abs.
You had abs.
That was good.
We actually did.
Sarah liked that.
I remember this. We actually did. Do you remember the $100 bet we did?
Oh, because I need to get down below 170.
Yeah, and I sent you.
There?
No, you got
171.
Yeah, and I sent you the Venmo request because I wasn't messing around. Times are tough then,
Yeah.
And you're like, "What is this?" I was
always looking to make a buck off me.
I mean, we're just I'm investing into yourself.
I know. I felt really good then, but that was not sustainable. That lifestyle.
No, but what do you think? Is there a balance? Like, it's interesting to hear, like, when you come from the business background, which I've never been in. Like, I've never had to go out and smooze clients and had that pressure. I've heard a lot from friends and stuff of entertaining, but you're kind of on the other side of like, are you really doing the entertaining in your world?
It's a very social job.
Yeah.
It's part of the thing. You have to go out and meet entrepreneurs. I invest in early stage companies. And so, yeah, it's a very social job. And then when you're at a dinner with, a company and their executives, and I don't know, I think alcohol and social norms they're intertwined almost, at least for my generation. It's changing, by the way. I just saw a stat, which was amazing, that like the Gen Zs and Gen Alpha, let's call them Gen Alpha. It's like my age group, I think I'm Gen X, like, 50% of people plus are drinking, socially, moderately, which is described, I think, as no more than 2 drinks a night or 5 in a week.
Yeah.
That's medically defined. That number for the younger generation is like sub 19%. It's crazy. Like,
for my generation or even younger.
30. You're old. You're an old man now. I know you don't look it, but no, I'm talking about, probably your generation and the generation below you.
Well, like a big thing now is like coffee shops, right?
Yeah, it's so boring.
Do you think people are just getting soft?
Well, I can't drink coffee after noon.
Oh, you're sensitive to caffeine.
Sleep. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So I'll set up coffee dates, but then I'll just drink seltzers, not hard seltzer.
Yeah.
You always ask me.
I have to ask. It's like,
when I'm drinking seltzer, I'm not drinking hard seltzer. I'm drinking club soda with a lime. Is that good?
Yeah, that's great.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. The only thing you do have to watch out for is actually that hurts your teeth. So like it will affect your teeth health and all that stuff.
So I have to watch out for myself. I have to buy I have to spend $1,500 in lotion.
Yeah.
And when I have club soda, I have to be mindful. And you have nice teeth.
Yeah. These are actually fake. The front
veneers?
Yeah. I got veneers in.
How much those cost?
$15,000.
Oh yeah. My God.
Yeah.
$15,000 in your teeth?
$15,000 on my teeth. Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But did you remember I had a black tooth?
Oh, I remember how conscious you were of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a good look when you're opening up a new gym.
How'd you get that?
I was at a gym called DHAC in Dedham Health Athletic Complex. It's like a local gym.
This was dark days?
I don't know if I had dark days. Okay. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I've had dark days. But no, it's just a local gym that I used to work out at. I actually got kicked out of. That's a whole nother story.
Let's go there.
Well, do you want to get back to the tooth, or you want to hear the kickdown first?
You were doing some heavy pound thing.
No, it was playing basketball.
Oh,
yeah, I used to do like intramural leagues and all that stuff.
Really?
Power forward.
I see that.
Right? Just get the rebounds and put it up.
You have a good handle?
Handle?
You're not strike me as very. Are you a good ball sport? I know you played rugby.
Yeah.
You're really good at that, but like, can you dribble and stuff like that?
Dribble a little bit. No, I wasn't crazy about dribbling.
You're like a beefcake down there.
Definitely beefcake. Good passer though. Hand-eye coordination was key.
Good team member.
Yeah, good team member. Good at defense. Played physical.
Yeah.
And then I was going up for a rebound, and then some guy got the rebound I didn't get, and they just go crazy with the elbow. That's what I don't like doing anything really else besides working out. Because there's just too many like head cases out there. You know?
You like to be in charge.
In charge, and not just like I'm not a hardo when like if we're playing like flag football.
Pick up basketball.
Yeah, like it's not that deep.
Yeah.
I have way more things going on.
Play one-on-one.
Yeah, we can do that.
I'm pretty I'm sweaty, as you can imagine. I get the elbow. I've got nice elbows. So.
You got good handles?
I would say I'm a good shooter, really good shooter.
Yeah.
I'm not very.
You're like a Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, a little nice fadeaway.
Yeah.
Old man fadeaway.
Yeah, not fast. We can't say you're fast.
I'm not fast.
Yeah.
When I played basketball, I went out with my business school buddies, and we went to Austin. And I admittedly had a few more drinks than you would have liked. You were drunk playing basketball? Hungover. Okay. But I went on fire. Yeah. I scored 50 points. My friends were like... It was probably like 10, but... No. Yeah. It was less than 50 and more than 10. Maybe 30. And
who is the crowd you're playing with?
I mean, these are like middle-aged. They're like, some of my friends are good. Like one of my friends does does chip type stuff, like super triathlons.
Yeah.
And he played football in college, and he's like a body. He's like bodies people down low.
He cuts trees
And
too.
it was one of my friends. My friends are decent basketball players. I mean,
Yeah.
They're all middle-aged, but like it's good. It's respectable basketball.
Would you still go out and play?
We played last year.
But would you don't like search for like...
No, I'm too busy. But I love playing pickup ball.
Yeah, exactly though. You don't like...
If I could play in a league, that'd be awesome. If I had more time, no kids. Once the kids are out of the house, I could go play.
Really?
Yeah, I love basketball.
I think that's a big... Well, you do have one hobby that you give time to.
What's that?
It's golf.
Oh, golf. Yeah, that is a lot of time.
How many hours is like one session of golf?
The round is 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then there's, a little bit of time in the pub.
So like I went golfing with you last year.
You like that?
That was really nice.
Yeah.
I think like, it's funny how people associate me now with like, I think I would only do golf with
you had
like
two drinks and you were wildly drunk on the golf course.
Wildly drunk?
Yeah.
No way. I was the putt god though.
We played a scramble against Mike Nolan and Nikki T.
No, it was Kent, your other partner.
It's Kent, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were good at putting.
Right?
For a beefy guy, you have nice soft hands.
And then I hit the ball pretty good sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for not playing, and I don't have clubs.
See, you need swing move. You need a little,
My brother-in-law actually said he will take me to get fitted.
Okay.
I think.
I don't know if you need that right now in your game.
It's a little aggressive.
You just need to practice.
Yeah. Well, it's hard for me as being like a business owner and then trying to be like
at the time, a father.
Yeah. I think that is a big thing. I can't, right?
No, I didn't.
No. You didn't do it back in the day?
No, I've always played. I've always made. Sarah's been great, my wife, to like realize that my mind is always on.
Yeah.
And the two places actually where my mind is not on, which is very therapeutic, right? We all need release cells. Other than sleeping, I don't sleep very well. So, and generally I wake up in the night. If I wake up, like my mind just starts going.
Yeah.
So then I get up super early. But golf and work out are two places where I don't think about work.
That's your escape.
Like those 4 hours with friends in the sun, walking. I like to carry my bag. It's a decent workout. Walking 7 miles. Like, I turn my phone off and I don't bring my phone to the gym. Like those are the two places where like it's a mental, like Heroes to me is, it's a great workout. And sometimes when I come in here, I'm feeling not so great. I say I want a good sweat session, but most importantly, it's like, it's almost like therapy for me in some ways. It's like mentally clearing.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they come to Heroes, they do find that it's like, we're not trying to beat you up or anything like that.
I mean, you can beat me up.
Yeah, totally. I mean, anyone can beat anyone up pretty good, but like a big thing is I know like this is people's time.
You always meet me where I am.
That's where I try. I know I've messed up the past 2 sessions.
2 sessions, man. I'm going to have to get on trainer.com.
Well, there is a trainer.com now.
I know. But that working out and golf to me are like mental releases.
Has golf always been a mental release?
Yeah.
You played with your dad and everything?
No. I didn't play growing up.
Oh, really?
My grandmother played, and she always tried to get me into it. I always just found it boring. And then one of my friends, when I was like 13, played. He was my best friend. And so I was like, I'll go play with you. And I just loved it.
You played ever since then, though?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't play a lot in college because I was, busy and didn't have any money. And it's like, the Yale actually has an amazing golf course. It's probably the best university course in the country, but it's like 15 minutes away from the campus. It was like $10. I should have played every day.
Yeah.
I should have done a lot of things in college that I didn't do.
Did you enjoy college or no?
Academically, absolutely. Like I went to Yale, my sole purpose, I thought I was going to be a journalist growing up. And Yale has the longest standing newspaper. My dad always tells the story. It's like when I went to go visit Yale, the first place I went to stop on literally the first place was the Yale Daily News. Because it's like a very reputable newspaper. The editor of the Yale Daily News, one of them, for instance, was just President Biden's national security advisor, Joe Lieberman, who's a senator. A bunch of Pulitzer Prize winning journalists came out of the Yale Daily News. It's very reputable. Like my sole goal was to be like the editor-in-chief of the Yale Daily News. And so I basically, all I did was study and write for the Yale Daily News like 4 days a week for my first like 2 years. In fact, my best friend from college always tells the story. And then in exam time, I'm like one of those people, my son's this way too, which I really admire, is like I want to get everything done early so I don't have the stress hanging
during the exam.
Yeah, like so I like a week before the exam, I basically isolate. They call me Steve Kraus. So I lock my door in my fraternity and like just study nonstop. Like no social interaction. I wouldn't go to any parties or anything like that. Just study. My best friend had to break down my door two times in a row.
Physically break down the door.
Break down the door.
Wow. Was he a big guy?
No, he's just a good athlete, Irish guy, likes to have fun.
Good Irish Catholic.
Good Irish guy. Yeah.
And he was getting you out to party.
He was like, ISO Kraus has to end.
Yeah. And this was sophomore year?
Yeah, sophomore, junior, senior year. He
would so your whole college career was like, I just have to grind.
To do well academically, and then I burnt out. I didn't do the Yale Daily News after my junior year, I think. But I didn't take advantage of all the things around. So when you say, did I have a good college experience? In some ways, yes. I mean, I was did very well academically. I was very focused. It led to good places in my life. I wouldn't, but if I had the older Steve had to go back and do it, I would do things differently.
What would you do differently though?
I'd probably titrate down the amount of studying, which is an odd thing to say. I hope my kids aren't listening to this.
Yeah, right.
No. I think they'll be fine. I think most people know me, or a lot of people in my class know me because I ended up being my class president. And I think my senior year I started to be more social, but I definitely didn't take advantage of all the relationships. I was sort of more focused. My head down. Yeah. And then it's people come and speak there all the time, and it's it's amazing the all the things you could do. And I didn't take full advantage of that. So that's my one regret. But I don't know. I mean,
that's not too bad of a regret.
I didn't do anything stupid.
Well, not even that in the sense of I wish I didn't work too hard, right? Is that what you're kind of saying in a way?
Yeah.
But you're too laser focused, but you kind of got what you wanted in a way, or no?
I mean, it got me to great places. So or stuff that I never imagined I could do.
Because if you didn't work as hard, do you think you would have got it?
I think I still could have done well academically and done, instead of doing 100%, I think I could have done 75-25.
Did you wish you partied more or have fun and be more social?
No, I'm not saying that. It's not that part of the social. Just realize all the things that you could do in those hours that you're studying. Maybe study an hour less and go see an amazing speaker or, try some club or whatever. I think just a little bit more perspective.
How is your social life and not part? It doesn't always have to when I say partying, I mean
I know.
Getting after.
I always think my social life is a bourbon and a Coke.
Yes and no. I mean, everyone thinks I'm hardcore judgmental, but my college career, what do I regret? I was extreme. I was disappointed that I went to Merrimack.
Why is that?
Because when I was playing rugby,
you were a stud.
So I was good, but I had
you got recruited to Cal. It's the best program in the world.
Yeah. I went out there.
You must have been a top 10 rugby player in the country.
I think I got a lot of opportunities. I think a lot, in rugby, it's different. It's more put yourself in as many situations as possible. And if a coach sees you, because it's hard for kids in the States to get noticed in rugby. So I just put myself out there a lot and I tried. I just tried. I was hey, let me try to go to this camp. Let me try to get recognized here. And so the more recognized I got, then the more opportunities came. A weird thing happened where CM got a New Zealand rugby coach for some weird reason.
When you were playing?
When I was playing. What are the odds of that?
Yeah. So why did you go to Cal?
I didn't like it out there. I don't know. I actually was probably mentally weak back then. I went out there and I was very starstruck. One of the kids I played with.
You didn't think you could make it?
Yeah, I questioned myself a lot.
Interesting.
And when I went out there was the number one kid in the world for rugby. His name's Russell Webb. Just a stud, great kid and all around. And he just played he played what I would say is no thoughts. And that's the best way to play a sport is just go out and play.
Totally.
I overthought it every time. And that kind of embarrassed me in a way too. I still was I was watched by Jack Clark. He put me on a certain team and everything and all that. Well, it was a good experience, but I was just a very hard critic. Come back, that was junior year. Senior year, we get the New Zealand coach and he said, you want to go to New Zealand and go to school out there for Auckland University. And I just mentally just couldn't do it. I don't know why.
Is that like your biggest regret?
That was definitely a big regret. Yeah. I mean, I was pretty disappointed in myself because I just didn't have really the balls to do it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I was an extreme homebody, you know,
Yeah,
I was more like, I'm comfortable in my skin. Well, I don't really want to do anything like that. And then
do you think you're good enough to play a Cal?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely could have, you know.
It'd be interesting to see what your life is like if you were a 4-time national champion.
I guess, so one thing is like, do I regret that? Yes, but then I'm more proud of what I've done now. And all
Found a good wife.
Found a good wife, founded like an amazing business that it's just like, I'm happy to wake up every day. As, you know, the 5th lead investor, you should be pretty happy about that.
Investor.
I think one of the best things about, you know, me not going that rugby route was me being able to work with my best friends.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's what the coolest thing is. Jack Clark has my favorite statement, you know.
Yeah. What is it again?
Grateful for everything, entitled to nothing.
Yeah.
I love that statement.
I got to work on that more, I think.
What, the grateful? I don't think you're entitled.
No, but I don't know. I think the more success comes with heroes and the more recognition we get, I just want to keep putting
you're
myself.
talking about how you like aspire for the next thing.
Like I'm inspiring for a lot. Like that, I got on the Noble shoot. Like that was a dream of mine for 10 years.
So did you like take a step back when you were there and be like, this is fucking awesome?
Yeah, it is awesome. Like someone's like going out and like getting me coffee, getting me like, you know.
Thank God for your 15 face lotions.
Exactly.
You didn't do,
right?
I'm not doing any Noble shooting anytime soon.
So like that was a pretty surreal moment right there. But like going back to, you know, not doing the rugby thing, then I got into Merrimack and I was always trying to prove something to everybody there.
Oh, so you had like a chip on your shoulder.
Huge chip on my shoulder.
That's good.
I get, yeah.
No, I have a chip on my shoulder all the time. I think people have a chip on their shoulder. I think everyone, I don't think people admit it. I have the same, like, I actually was speaking about this. We had our huge partner offsite, our firm offsite, and like they had this Ask Me Anything type panel with some of the guys my age who are, you know, run our firm. And I forgot where it came up, but I was just very honest with like, I had this like period of my time. You probably remember, it was actually sort of during COVID. Some of those like early morning workouts where I was bummed. I had this big investment that wasn't going well. And it's the first time I ever had a coach, like a professional personal coach. It was more personal than professional, honestly, because I was like carrying the weight of this like bad investment around and it was sort of pulling me down. You know, I'm a pretty happy-go person, I think you'd say.
Yeah.
I think you'd say. But that was like, you remember some Ruth Bader Ginsburg, those days? And so I got this book called How to Tame Your Gremlin. And the thesis is that all of us have like an angel on one of our shoulder and like a gremlin on one of our shoulder. Like someone who's always telling you, you know, rightfully, hopefully telling every person what's their unique greatness in the world, right? And then I think a lot of people, I think everybody has this like darker side that's like, you know, you could do more or like, you know, wear more face lotion or whatever, you know? Like for me, it was like, oh, you're not good enough. You're not living up you know, to your other partners. And that book changed my life because it was like, actually, I thought in some ways I had made peace with my gremlin almost too much. Like it was like I had this chip on this shoulder. And so it was always like, well, if I'm not doing what I should be doing to earn my place at the firm, I need to just work harder.
Yeah.
And that's actually not sustainable in life, right? You have to have some tool. For me, working out is one of them, right? Like I'll give you an example as it relates to heroes. Like when you and I first met, I used to work out with you at like 5:30 every morning.
Yeah.
And I'm not my best self at that time of the day, I realize. Like I like getting up, I get up early. Like I get up probably the same hour as Mike Nolan, one of your hardest trainers, right? I get up really like at 4. But I really like to have a cup of coffee. I actually do work then because I find my mind is much clearer then. And then I come work out with you later in the morning, which I just find better. So for me, it was like giving myself permission to tame my gremlin. You know, it's like trying to sleep a little bit more. It's like playing golf. Like, it's okay. If I go play golf for 4 hours, I'm still going to be a great dad. I still put in the hours coaching baseball or whatever, and I still work really hard at work. But it's like finding those ways to be okay with giving yourself the time and the space to also like be healthy.
I mean, I find that in like my life and stuff. I had a point, I would say 3 years ago where I was always cared about run rate, which I just learned opening a business and all that stuff. Even just as being a small business owner, like it consumed my day, and I would just show up, work. And I was kind of on my own more, you know, I didn't hit like my home run yet, I would say. And I didn't have like, I had a team, but I was still molding everybody. But I would show up, work, like do all my social media stuff. And then I would just pass out when I get home. Just exhaust. And that was just a route. Like my beard was getting grown, like everything. I wasn't as like polished as I am now. And so the only thing now that I find that keeps my demons is the running, actually. Yeah. That's why I got into running, even though I get that. You say I'm like emasculated now.
Well, I'm worried about the image.
I don't even do it with headphones.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a little crazy. And I do it as a mental.
It clears your mind.
Yeah, I can just go out there and it's just
and like doing 500-pound deadlifts doesn't do that for you.
Not anymore. I don't want that stressor about any like worrying about stuff or any of that stuff. It's like
when you're like lifting a lot of weight, you're worried about. You just want to get big. If it's 500 pounds, you want to get to 525.
Yeah, because I know what my capability is. But running now is becoming a little stressful.
I know,
because I'm always looking at my watch.
I know,
and my pace is getting faster.
Like you can't be the 29th high rockster in the world. You have to be better than that.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
I think you've got a little bit of that. That's good. That'll make you a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like I said, a chip on your shoulder is very healthy.
Yeah. So like
if you're born with a lot of, like people are born with a lot of money. There are some people who do really well with it. And studies show generally thinking about how you pass on wealth to your family like the data is not great about the next generations.
You're saying when you have wealth and you get it.
I'm using it as a proxy.
Okay.
So like having a little less of a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
You have a little less need to, you're fine. I mean, a lot of stress in life is brought up through there's lots of stressors, but financial, like paying the bills is the biggest stress for most Americans, right? Yeah. Paying your healthcare bill, paying the food you put on the table. And so I think, everyone has different chips on their shoulder, but I was just using that as an example. Like those who are born who don't necessarily have that chip on their shoulder, the data is not very compelling to what actually happens with those folks.
But like coming from your background, like your mom was like super successful. Your dad was super successful.
Yes.
Like you came from successful parents, but you still had a big chip on your shoulder and you still you made something more out of yourself. Yeah. You know? Like a lot of people, I think, when they see, oh, their parents are super successful, he's a super successful guy. Like if you're coming from a kid from like my background, to be honest, like that.
You make assumptions about
a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, I get that. I have two middle names.
And they don't think you work as hard, to be honest, I think. They think money just comes to you and that's just the way it is. A lot of people, I think, make excuses and don't know what, like, look at, you just said you wake up at 4 a.m. every day. You think most people are waking up at 4 a.m.?
I think that's why I like that Jack Clark phrase, right? It's like grateful for everything. I have a lot to be grateful. Like that's why I try to take the resources that I've been lucky enough to have, and I give away. Sarah and I give away a lot of our resources to charities because I feel like I have been given a leg up in life just by who I was born to, who you mentioned. Like, not just the fact that, I was comfortable growing up, but also just, there's just a lot of things that come with that, right? Like, I had great role models, right? I went to good schools. Yeah. I took for granted things like that lots of people, we were just talking about, have to, like, really worry about, like a meal on your healthcare, a meal on the table. But my parents also instilled on me, like, those who are given a lot are also expected to do a lot, right? And that's not just like financial success, that's like actually giving back to your community. So I spent a lot of time volunteering. So I think that sort of expectation from my parents was like, okay, we want you not to, sit on your butt, and we want you to go out there and prove yourself and make a path for yourself. And then we expect you also to make a difference in whatever way that means in your community, starting with your kids, right? Yeah. So I just had really good role models, which, by the way, is regardless of whatever financially, like if you have good role models in your life, especially if they're your parents. And I have a great sister who's 10 and a half years older than me, who did a lot.
10 and a half years?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was the unexpected child in my family.
Oh, interesting.
My mom had 10 miscarriages. They've always wanted to have a kid, second kid, and it wasn't going to happen. And then I was they called the greatest mistake
Or just a blessing.
They didn't.
Shout out to JC.
The blessing, they didn't expect to have me. So yeah, my mom and dad were 40 when they had me.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s or 70s, mid 70s.
Yeah.
And then my mom, when she had me, she was driven, but she was not the breadwinner. My dad was. And then my mom got a job at a local bank, and my dad basically kind of almost, he had a business on the side, but he basically was Mr. Mom. So I had this really interesting upbringing where my mom and dad switched roles, which also was very formative to me and sort of equality and things that I care about. That my dad just all said, okay, I'm gonna take a second seat to you and support my mom. And then my mom went on to do amazing things in her career and really was a leader in our community and a leader for women in the workplace. I think she was the first woman ever to run a commercial bank in the United States, which is pretty cool.
And she started just from the ground up.
She started, she went to good college, went to Mount Holyoke.
Okay.
Which is a really strong women's school. I'm actually a guy in Yale, but her mom actually wanted her to go into secretarial school, not even to go onto advanced degrees. But my mom was like, "No, I'm not going to do that." So she started organizations to help women get into the workplace. Actually, in the 70s, when the equal rights movement came around, she actually helped mentor women to get resumes and interviews and job prep, and started placing a bunch of women in the community. And then all of a sudden, she was on a nonprofit board, and a guy who ran the bank needed a woman to run HR, and which my mom always said that was generally, there was never glass ceilings. She thought there was glass walls. Women would generally be in HR marketing back in the day. And my mom was actually started HR, but then she was able to run, the balance sheet for the bank and consumer lending and the actual branches. And so she got a lot of she went span beyond that and got all the skills that you need to actually become the CEO. So she was awesome. I mean, someone asked me the other day, was one thing I wish if I could have lunch with anybody, who would it be? A lot of people say the Pope or President Obama. For me, if I could spend another day with my mom, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So, she was great. And I think for most people, that's where it starts, is you get great. And so I try to spend a lot of time with Charlie and Teddy, because at the end of the day, that's what's most important to me.
Did you realize that later in life, or
no? That was innately
because your mom got sick?
Because of our family. No. Way before that.
Okay. You always knew family was important.
I wanted to find a partner who I ultimately found.
Yeah.
Who I thought was amazing.
You had so many picks, but you picked that.
It was just the pipeline was very strong.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I luckily found Sarah. So I knew if you have a great family structure, either as a kid, as we talked about, as role models, supportive, siblings, and then I think that shapes you. It can't not shape you. They should be your role models. And then ultimately, I want to find that for myself for the next phase of my life, which is what I'm in now. We have 2 great kids who we're trying to raise the same way. So
just not athletes too. Mathletes and athletes. We're getting them a little faster.
They're definitely more talented than I was athletically. So
they're at Heroes. That's why. And Sarah.
Yeah, it's really Sarah.
Yeah, that's understandable. They have your humor though.
They both have. Actually, no. Yeah. Teddy's really funny.
Oh, really?
Teddy's like Sarah funny. He's quiet. Yeah. Charlie's more like me, loud and witty.
That's all right though. You need that in the room.
I hope so. I sometimes come to Heroes and I try to bring some energy.
I think one of the greatest things about you in general is just how much energy you can bring to the world, into just a room. Yeah. That says a lot about you.
I try to bring my true self to the room, and I feel like I want to try to, anything I do, I actually one of my things, I want to have fun.
Yeah.
I can't imagine me, I love my job. I get to work with Kent, as who's super funny and super smart and super kind and all the things you look for. But I try to have a lot of fun at work, because we all work so hard, right? I mean, I think you were just talking about how hard you work.
Yeah.
If you're not having fun at your job, and a lot of people don't, unfortunately, right?
Most people don't, I would say.
Most people don't. But if you can have fun at your job, and you're intellectually stimulated and you work with good people, that is that, and a great family structure. So yeah, I try to bring fun, because I try to make people laugh.
How do you get there though? It has to go through hard work, and then you think.
Yeah, you definitely have to work hard. You have to when you're giving your shot, you have to work your ass. And I think there was a period of my time where I grinded to get to where I am, but then you need some luck.
Yeah.
If you don't think you're lucky when you get have some success, COVID was kind of lucky for you.
Was it luck? You think it was luck?
I don't think you would have. I think you were at the place where you wanted to start something, having more career, like you could see it, but I'm not sure. COVID kind of changed.
I kind of was just like, everything was hitting
You had to go out on your own.
Yeah, I had to do it. So I guess that's just like push comes to shove.
Let's be honest, you started Heroes in 101 Burleson.
At your house. Yeah. Great Wi-Fi, by the way. I couldn't run even an Instagram live class. Come on.
I need bigger ceilings.
Yeah.
Kind of tried to do it. You had
at Row Republic.
You're training one-on-one with a lot of people. You're going around your car, which was a
Honda HRV.
Then we ultimately settled that at my house, and then you did it with a lot of people's houses in the driveways. And then he had to do a session for a corporation that he had to use my Wi-Fi, which was a little spotty, and the ceilings weren't high enough for a snatch.
I think I just canceled the class at one point.
But like that was like a very entrepreneurial moment for you. Like you had to make it work.
100%. And
you like did it. You fucking freezing out, and you show up at like 6 a.m. with like a cool looking hoodie on, or like a parka.
That's how I kind of am.
That was like very indicative of the entrepreneur that you're going to be. I thought, like you just made it work.
I think that's how I am just in life in general. Like I've honestly I've hit a lot of hiccups throughout my life. Like life was pretty easy when I was a kid. And then when I wanted to get into sports, I actually got cut from a lot of sports teams.
Really?
So many sports teams.
Oh, this is going to come up in training sessions.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a good look, but it is what it is. Because I thought it would just come natural to me. Because I think my upbringing was like, they just tried to hand everything to me, and anything I wanted, they would just give me in like small senses, you know, like if I wanted toys, video games, or food, right? Because I was very like protected in that way. But then when I started getting cut from sports teams, I think like that just was like...
You were heavy, right?
Yeah, I was 250 pounds at my top. Wow. Sophomore year of high school, at the greatest high school in America.
Dedham? Oh, CM.
Yeah,
sorry.
CM. Powerhouse.
Yeah. Were you happy as a happy kid?
Truly happy? No. I had like man boobs. Or man tatas, as someone says.
Listen, don't judge some of us, all right?
I'm not judging, but
I was big too when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think that's good though. I think everything that's happened, I always believe this, everything that's happened in everyone's past is for a reason, and you can either make the best out of it, or you can just always have a pity party. And I'm never having a pity party. Yeah. And now I can relate to pretty much anyone in the fitness world. Like being a trainer, you know? Because people look at me like, oh, you have good genetics. Like even like, a lot of people will be like, I'll talk really deep into pretty much bad relationships with food. And they'll be like, oh, you won't understand. I'll be like, no, I was 250 pounds eating a dozen donuts every night. And that would only make me happy. So it's like...
Is that your superpower as a trainer, you think? What do you think your superpower is? As like, what makes you so successful at your job?
Being relatable to people in their fitness situations. Because I've been like mentally weak. I've been fat. Then I got really skinny. And then I had to build myself from the ground up. And I've honestly trained in levels where it's like high sports conditions and high fitness competitions. I've just thrown myself into so many fires.
Yeah.
And then when I was dealing with all that stuff, I would just build relationships in the gym with so many people. It's a really cool place to connect with people.
I'll tell you how I feel.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty easy to figure me out.
Yeah.
Within the first 5 seconds, if you can get my humor. But like, how do you figure out people who are less vocal?
I just dive deeper into the questions, more questions, read their faces and everything. Like, why are you really here today? You know, and you'll find like, again, it's people come here because there's a lot of demons, and I kind of try to bring that out through fitness.
Interesting. That's fascinating. That's actually a real gift.
Yeah. And it's just, there's so much entertainment and so much.
People look at you and they're like, oh, he's an Adonis.
Yeah.
Like
sadly.
It comes easy. It doesn't come easy.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
They always say that.
15 face lotions. He's one of those guys.
Yeah, it's like, 15 face lotions.
Actually, I used to be fat and not necessarily happy. And
yeah, like I got stretch marks and all that stuff. And I'm continuous.
Stretch marks?
Yeah, stretch marks.
Oh, God. That's bad for the brand.
Yeah. We'll have to get some surgeon on that one. Maybe that's another 15K. Hey, I'm the face of the company right now, right?
I know.
But
better you than me.
Soon to be. Poster child, new transformation.
I gotta get this, yeah.
Right?
Summer Steve, we can't do that.
Are you gonna do the Summer of Steve again?
I'm gonna try to find balance. How about that?
That's probably the hardest thing to find in life.
I know, but back to the beginning, I don't want to just be like, I want to enjoy. It is a constant struggle. I'll put it that way. finding the right balances of like having fun, but also thinking about the long term it's important.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have like.
And as you age, you feel it more.
Yeah, I could see that.
You'll know someday. You'll realize.
Maybe. I mean, everyone keeps on saying that. We've known each other for almost 10 years. 10 years ago, everyone's like, when you have a kid, you're gonna get out of shape. When you get married, you're gonna get out of shape.
Yeah.
I'm still proving. I think I just have an opportunity where fitness is my life, and it's always been, and it'll continue to be.
It's like spreadsheets for me. I can do it in my sleep.
Yeah. If I'm looking at a spreadsheet, I have a headache probably. And let's be happy with that. You don't want me to learn about spreadsheets, right?
No. Leave that to Nikki T. Our business will be fine.
Yeah, that'll be scary. We'll get some AI to do that soon enough.
There we go. AI. I didn't think that was coming in this podcast.
Have you been surprised of me? Like when you look at me as a trainer, have you been surprised of my knowledge on things, or not even? I'm not saying I'm knowledgeable, but do you look at me different as if
I still want to have the hero's Jeopardy to really
set that up.
Question.
Yeah. What
kind of knowledge?
No, I'm saying though, just a more respectable conversation. I think you look at a typical trainer and people have like...
No. This place is different that way.
Yeah, I think we've built something pretty special with that.
Yeah, I don't think you have meathead trainers here.
Yeah.
Which is what I think people generally view.
Like, what do you...
Right or wrong in the industry.
And just, what do you think of like their education level and everything?
Yeah, no, like your trainers can relate to everybody.
Yeah. And just in the sense of like, I don't know, like if you go out with somebody, you think you could actually hold like a decent conversation and like do you find your conversations different with your peers than your trainers?
I find the trainers here are like friends.
Yeah.
And so like I have conversations here like I'd have with my friends from business school.
Yeah.
I don't want to be talking with my friends from business school about, I mean, there's time for it, but I don't necessarily always want to be talking about world affairs, and I get super depressed, right? It's the state of the world right now, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
So like I find I can have lots of different conversations with y'all, which is kind of like all you want. It's like, good conversations, laughs. I have a good time here.
Do you feel like you do that in business?
I come and work at your front desk.
Yeah, I don't know if you fit
That's not the look you're looking for?
I'm kind of bringing back I'm sorry. But like the whole, like Hollister. I used to work at Hollister, by the way.
I know, you told me.
Yeah. I think we should,
handing out
maybe if you,
Oh, you want me to have a little more
maybe like
swag?
A little high fade going or something like that.
No, not going to Titletown.
I don't go there anymore.
Who does your hair?
I didn't tell you that story?
No.
So I went to get a haircut.
Okay.
From the same guy for the past 5 years.
I know, high fade.
High fade, everything else. I usually sit on my phone. I do a lot of emailing because I'm very big on time. I don't like to waste time. That's why I have someone pump the gas, go full service. Mm. So
I might be more of a man of the people than you are, by the way, just to be clear. Let's continue.
Yeah, you might be, and that's a bad rep I don't like. But I was getting a haircut, and I paid already. I already tipped everything. I get up, and he takes out his Venmo, like me to scan it. I go, I already paid. And he goes, no, you have to. He's like, I want more. He's like, it's 2025. I want a bigger tip. And so from then, I never went.
Just that alone?
You can't ask somebody for a bigger tip, Steve.
Oh, really?
What are you?
I'm a sucker.
Really? You're just going to be okay?
Yeah, give a guy $20 or what do you want?
I already tipped him, though.
Oh. I don't know. Feels a little.
I'm not even like that, to be honest.
Side,
I'm not even on a bad side, but it's just like, I come from
So where do you go now?
Place in Peabody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What's it called? Let's give him a shout out.
Barber House.
Barber House.
Yeah.
Your haircuts can never have a normal name. It can't be like Tony's haircut place.
No, but you're going to like this. Yeah. He actually just got invited to Fanatics Fest. Is
that like the apparel brand company?
Yeah, Fanatic, the successful Michael.
Rubin.
Yeah, the all-white party. You probably got the invite, right?
I would love to. I would kill an all-white
party. Oh, you didn't get the invite?
No. Yeah. But I think Diddy went to those all-white parties, so I want to go.
He used to host those, actually.
Not the Michael Rubin ones.
No, Michael Rubin took it over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cleaner version.
We'll hope. No, but he actually got invited to Fanatics Fest to cut hair for LeBron James' company.
Oh, so you're like 6 degrees separated from LeBron James.
I guess. I mean, I texted him congratulations, and he's like, I'm just trying to be like you.
Whoa, what's up?
No, I'm just messing around. That's a little too much on me. But yeah.
You can edit anything. I think the segment on your haircut's gonna be gripping.
You think so?
Oh yeah. At least 1,000 hits on IG.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to get back and we'll wrap it up like this though, because in the sense of at college and everything, and you felt like you regretted some time, but after you went to college, you went to Harvard Business School, correct? Yeah. And then from there, was it just all the way up?
No. It took me like 10 years at my firm to.
Like, what was the goal at Harvard Business School?
I had already been working in venture capital. I knew I liked healthcare as an industry. I like healthcare because it goes back a little bit to kind of the lessons I learned from my mom and my dad. I think if you're like, I don't know, if you think about, I want to have fun where I'm working. I want to be intellectually stimulated. I want to work with good people. And then I personally have a little bit of a do-gooder like thing where I want to like make a difference in the world through what I'm spending my time on. So, my company, Bessemer, invests in lots of cool companies. My partner, Ken, did Toast, which is an amazing company. You actually have a bunch of Toast executives who, work out here. And we're invested in Shopify, which everyone knows, it sort of powers the small business ecosystem, and Pinterest and Yelp and LinkedIn. These are like household names in the technology world, right? And trust me, they're amazing companies to be part of. But I personally love the fact that I get to do healthcare because, my company is like, I've had drug companies that I've invested in that actually cure cancer, or
that have cured cancer?
Well, not cure, but, are, making a difference, having people live longer who have cancer because they're drugs that treat the underlying condition. Or one of my companies for kids who have cystic fibrosis, one of the things they have a hard time doing is actually digesting their foods because they lack the enzyme in their pancreas that allows them to break down these long-chain fatty acids into smaller chain acids that they can digest. And so I have a company that has a device that helps them, when they're being tube fed, get more calories in their body so that, getting calories in your body is really important, right? So these kids often are malnourished, but this company allows them to actually, get the proper food amount in their body and get it digested so that they can live a more healthy life. Like, that's so cool.
Did you get into venture capitalists for the money or did you get in for the healthcare?
Oh, definitely not the money at that point.
Definitely not the money.
I got into venture capitalists because I worked on a political campaign for a guy who's...
The next president?
No. I worked at a woman who ran for governor here in Massachusetts, but our running mate, our lieutenant governor, Kay, was the guy who founded Bessemer's healthcare practice. And on the campaign, I worked there for a year and a half. He was he was the guy I wanted to be.
Like, did anything you do, were you chasing money at any point or were you just chasing passion?
I don't think I did anything for money.
Not like no direction, was just like you were trying to go for making a change?
So it's funny. I had this like long circuitous path to where I ended up. I wanted to be a journalist, I told you, and I actually loved journalism, but I burnt out on just writing to deadline.
Quick question. Is there a lot of money in journalism?
No.
Okay.
Not at the time I did it because you could only write for the Boston Herald or the Boston Globe or whatever, the New York Times. And that is, unfortunately, at that time, before social media, you couldn't build a brand as a journalist. Actually, in retrospect, if I had stayed in the business, I actually think because of my personality is, I host a podcast and I like to do a lot of things to build my own brand as well as Bessemer's brand. And now there are avenues as an individual creator to build your own brand. Back then they didn't exist. So actually, in retrospect, if I had known where the industry was headed, you see Stephen A. Smith, I'm giving you one example.
Yeah.
Lots of these guys build a brand way beyond their actual, where they started their career as journalists. They are journalists.
A lot of opportunity now.
So very different then. And I burnt out on the writing part of it. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. So then I got into consulting and I did that for a couple of years. It was great intellectually, worked with great people at Bain, learned a lot about industry, learned I loved healthcare there, but I didn't love being a consultant because it was like you do a project for a company, you give them some advice, and then you move on.
Yeah.
And that just I didn't get enough passion on that. And then I worked on this political campaign because I was 25 and I didn't need any resources. I was single, so I kind of got paid very little. But it was really interesting because I've always been interested in politics and public policy. And so I did that for a year and a half. And it's there where I met this guy, Chris Gabrielli, who was probably my professional mentor, or is my professional mentor.
Still?
Yes, and he's retired now. He started Bessemer's healthcare practice, but I still get breakfast with him every 6 months just to catch up. And I just liked him personally. I was like, wow, he's really smart and great. I liked his values and the way he handled himself, and he was really eloquent and just a nice person. And he told me about what he did. And I was like, and he asked me to come work with him after the campaign. And so I sort of took a leap of faith. My sister was an entrepreneur and had raised venture capital, so I sort of knew what it was, but I had no career vision to be a venture capitalist. Like that was not in my lexicon.
Yeah.
And I happened by good fortune to meet him, and he took me under his wing, and the rest is history. And I turned out I really liked venture. Like I thought it was all the things I was looking for. The greatest thing about my job is it's a little bit of ADHD. Like I invest in a company, I can, does healthcare, which I really care about, as we talked about, but then I can go look at other companies. And so I'm always constantly learning new things. It's always cutting edge. Like entrepreneurs are always doing something different. So it's not static at all. It's very, 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 very fulfilling that way. And so it turned out it's a great career, but that's not the reason I did it. I did it because I like this guy. And I knew I liked healthcare at that point.
So you kept on you fell into things, and your passion kind of led you into
and then I worked really hard to prove myself.
Yeah.
And it's worked out.
Because a lot of people, I think, chase the money. And then I think some other people chase their passion, but then they get discouraged. Like, did you ever have a point where you're
journalists. Like I remember when I was writing, I got some really prestigious internships in newspapers, and one, which I love sports, as you know. And so I got this internship at the Hartford Courant to basically be, it was college, to basically be able to have my own bylines. Meaning I wrote the story that says by Steve Kraus. Yep. And they weren't going to put me on they weren't going to have me cover UConn, which is like at that time the Hartford Whalers, which was the big NHL franchise in Hartford. But I covered lots of local odd sports. So I covered, the Paralympic Games, and I covered, local baseball matchups, and I covered, so this one assignment was to go cover an auto track. There's up in, where was it? Lime Rock, I think it was called. And whenever I covered a new sport, I'd have to shadow a guy who had done it, like a seasoned journalist. So he could teach me what it meant to cover small track racing, because I didn't know anything about it. And so we're driving up, and then sort of like, it's like 7 o'clock at night, or driving back actually from covering it. It's later because it's dark. He's smoking a cigarette in his like Pinto.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and he says, "Hey kid, basically, you're too good for this business.
Oh, wow.
Like, you're not going to be able to have a fulfilling career." And I was like, I was I guess I was 20.
Yeah.
And this was my singular dream. I told you I went to college to go be a journalist, right? And I was like, wow. And that combined with the fact that I wrote every single night, like 4 nights a week, up till 1 a.m., writing to deadline to get a story in for the next day's Yale Daily News. It was like those two things coming together. I sort of said, I have to.
So you just pivoted.
I pivoted.
Right away.
Right. I just like, I think so. It was a little bit of the passion faded a little bit. Now I still, like, parts of journalism I use today. Like my job is talking to people and figuring out, is this a person I want to work with for the next 10 years? Because that's kind of like venture capital, you're investing in a company for 10 years. Is this a person I want to work with? Do I think they have good ethics? Do I think like me and him or her would get along, right? And then do I like the concept of the business?
Do you think nowadays it's easier to become successful?
No, I think it's way harder. I think the world's become way more competitive, much more. In many ways, I'm very happy personally from my value system, much more global. It's hard. I mean, I wouldn't get into Yale nowadays. It's way more difficult. And for my view, at least this administration isn't successful. They're trying to pull back. But Yale's way more diverse, more women, more people of color, more international students. The bar is a lot higher. So I think it's a lot harder to be successful.
What about?
And I think with AI, it's going to be. I mean, this is I think it's really hard to be a graduate of, like AI.
A top school, you're saying?
Yeah, any school, because I think AI is going to strip out a lot of the jobs that fuels our economy. I think it's going to be hard. It's hard. You start to read stories now where it's been hard for kids to come out of college anyways recently because of the turmoil, economic turmoil. But now with AI, I think it's going to be a lot harder. I think it's way more competitive nowadays, way harder.
What about as a young entrepreneur? Especially as you see a lot of young entrepreneurs
being
now.
An entrepreneur has always been so freaking hard. It's really hard. You're always like, as an entrepreneur, you're trying to do something that you're trying to prove to someone that something should exist in the world that they can't quite see. You get told no, like I mean, you probably get told no more than you get told yes. You get told no 100 times more than you get told yes. And yet you have to have this like chip on your shoulder, like this confidence that I'm going to prove the world wrong. So I think it's always been a hard job be an entrepreneur. I don't think it's ever easy time to be an entrepreneur. I think you could glass half full. AI is going to completely change the world and how we think about the world. In fact, at our partner offsite, we were talking about like Google. Google has had this amazing position of dominating search. Like when you go to search something, what do you do?
Yeah, you Google.
But AI could change the way that you think about even Google and search.
Well, now everyone, in at least my circle, ChatGPT is everywhere. Right. It's crazy.
Right.
And it's like,
think about that. So now you go to chat. So my generation, for 25 years, people have gone to Google, which is, I think, one of the most, there's a lot of impressive business out there, but it is one of the most dominant, impressive, and profitable companies in human history. That's sustained itself for as long as it has.
Yeah.
With constantly entrepreneurs trying to chip away at it, right?
Yeah.
But it's been able to, now all of a sudden, I've heard this, I don't go to I use ChatGPT, but I don't go for it for search.
Everyone does it now for like everything. How to make food. What should I do about like certain life situations?
I was like, I was tired the other day. And I was like, I'm normally tired for a couple days. I'm a 48-year-old man who's tired.
And it's like, and it tells you everything.
So, but think about all of Google's business is all ad driven.
Yeah.
Google makes its money because people know that people go to Google first to search.
Yeah.
And now if that's all going to ChatGPT, the world changes. That's just one example.
Yeah, I understand.
Right? Like call centers. All of that stuff can be automated through voice. So now you have all the, so it's going to lead to real challenges for our economy, but it's going to lead to real opportunities for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And that's the glass is half full side.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it fun to do what I do, is to like think about what the world, and to get to work with people who want to make this shit happen and are going to make it happen regardless of how many times no is said to them. You know, if they're in it for the right reason, it's like you want to build heroes into like, right now you're one awesome Jim in Wellesley, but every time I talk to you, it's like, this is going to be a lot bigger than that. That's an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I would say is like, if you had to pick 3 traits that you would invest into an entrepreneur, what are those 3 things you're looking for?
I think I would say proof of that person will just like run through walls and it's obsessed. You talk to them once about your business, you might not invest in the first round. I had this company that just went public, and the entrepreneur is, I would use the word maniacal. A lot of people think that it's a bad word because it's got a bad connotation, but he is maniacal about his business and he's really good commercially. Like at the IPO, he actually brought, I've never seen this before. I've been lucky enough to be a part of a bunch of IPOs. He brought like 50 of his customers. He's very customer focused. Okay. So he focuses intensely on how his customers view his product and his company. Yeah. And so that's been true from day one. And when I first met with them, we gave him some answers about why we're not going to invest. And then the next time we met with him, he literally had remembered all the answers and came back with data to show me that those answers were wrong. And we'd actually invest that time. We invested the next time he came back, and he had same thing. He was just like on it. Yeah. You could tell he was obsessed about his business. Sometimes you see that through an example like that, just through the interaction. Sometimes you're talking to customers and they're like, wow, this company is like, when you talk to his customers, like this company is customer obsessed. So you see it just through proof, I think through data. I'd say really good at talent, which, like, to your credit, heroes, I think you've kept a really high bar of talent. Like, yeah, they're your friends, but like, you're a business person first. I've seen this. Like, you're going to hold them to high standards, and you bring in, like, it's really easy. It's really hard to be a trainer because you've got to scale yourself. And the only way you scale yourself is bringing in good people. Mm-hmm. And you go to other gyms and there's a lot of, not because there's just like in any business, it's a business. There's lots of, you go to a restaurant too. You go to a restaurant. It's not about trainers. Yeah. It's like you can see it in business when someone holds a high bar to the people they bring in. And so I think really a magnet of talent, people have to want to work for you, but you also have to keep a high bar for that talent and drive. They need to have a life, but you have to hold standards for them. I think and then I'd say like a good communicator, because you have to tell the story time and time and time and time again, whether it's to customers or employees, the self-employed account, or or investors. And you have to be able to, like, a good communicator who draws you in about why this should exist in the world and is constantly communicating to you. That'd be 3. I'd add a 4th. I also look for people who don't drink their own Kool-Aid. It's very easy.
Don't drink your own.
Don't drink your own. So it's weird. You need to believe that your thing's going to exist, but you also have to take a lot of feedback, and some of it's good, some of it's bad, but you have to be open to taking criticism.
Yep.
And really thinking about it and welcoming it, and then the criticism that's valid, iterating on that.
100%. I think like I try to implement that every day with like, I know we joke around like, how is the programming? But I ask like class people, like, you know, honestly, like, what did you think of class? What could we do better? Why are you going to this place to that place? And I'm constantly going to other gyms, other trainers.
Yeah, looking at the world around you.
Yeah, and just seeing where everything is. But I also fully embrace like the hero's mantra.
It's a very fine balance. You have to like drink your Kool-Aid, because you always have to be telling people who tell you no why this should exist.
Yeah.
But you have to be open-minded and intellectually honest about where is Heroes.
Yeah.
Like, is Heroes a 10 or is Heroes a 9 right now, or an 8, and you want to get it to 10?
Yeah.
You can't just be thinking Heroes. You got to be telling people Heroes is going to be a 10 or is a 10, but you also have to be intellectually honest to yourself about where your business
you have to be hard on yourself and real at sometimes. Like, hey, we could, you know, look a little more presentable.
But when you become a unicorn, or you get on Wall Street Journal and you're $1 billion enterprise value, like someone's value, it's very quick. You can get surrounded in like, you're the greatest. You know, there's
100%. And I think a lot of people that own businesses are like, oh no, this is the only thing you should be doing. Like, so now recently I've been bringing in a lot of influencers, and some of the business owners are getting intimidated. And so, cause they always are like
who, like what kind of business? Not who, but like
gym owners.
Gym owners.
So in the sense of like, oh, why are you going to that gym? You know, you should only be training at
where they work.
Yeah. My biggest thing is cross promoting, and like, if you want to bring your business card here, like I'll help promote you too. Like I'm never worried about like, again, if someone wants to be a customer of yours, they'll be a customer of yours. You shouldn't have to force anyone, you know, just embrace everything about it. So
you learned a lot from me in this podcast.
I did learn a lot. I learned that you're in a fraternity.
I was in a fraternity.
Yeah.
I was very, it was funny. I went to Yale and said I worked really hard, and I was very homesick actually, which is freaking pathetic because my parents lived like 45 minutes. I was a homebody too. And so I sort of, my sophomore year, I did not have a great freshman year. My sophomore year, I forced myself to be more social, like literally forced myself.
Yeah.
And a bunch of my friends, I didn't have a huge friend group, but this guy, James Gormley, he was a soccer player at Yale, and a bunch of soccer players became friends of mine. And I always felt like I didn't fit in. And then he was like, you should come out for this. And I was like, I was not like ever going to, by the way, Yale fraternities are jokes. They're not like real fraternities.
I'm happy you clarified that.
We have like 5 guy fraternities and 3 girl. I mean, it's not, Greek society is not, it's 10% of the population.
It's not like Alabama.
No. Oh God, no. But it was great because it forced me to get out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah.
Just be a little more social.
Which probably helped you grow in every other sense.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. I mean, chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
And makes me, it's like, I'm not a very forced affiliation guy, but like it was good because I met, a lot of my good friends there. So. Which
is weird though, because you're like Party Steve now.
People grow.
You grew into Party Steve. Do you think success?
No, I think it was always in there. I think it's just like I was not in the happiest place. I was probably clinically depressed, would be my guess. Feeling very, I don't know, I just wasn't my true self. And so it was good. It was like, it was not something I would have expected, but it was a really good forcing function for me to just like, okay, I can be back to who I am and still be like a serious dork and also be social.
Literally you just found balance.
Balance.
Yeah.
There we go.
Balance is key. I'm still finding that, but.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there a little bit. I mean, we're going out to Kings tonight. I'm taking the team out.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Everyone gets 2 tokens, 2 drink tokens.
Oh.
The hero's budget's a little tight, so.
The thing about your trainers is, like, for a couple trainers, 2 drink tokens is not nearly going to be enough for you. I'd
be concerned if I drink too.
Yeah.
I think they're going to want to see that though.
Leadership.
I can't just be always a hardo and be like, oh, I'm going to drink a seltzer. Like, again, you got to work hard.
We're going to have vodka soda tonight?
No, probably is a seltzer. What about a seltzer? Is that too soft?
Hard seltzer.
Yeah, hard seltzer.
That's fine.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm okay with that for you.
Yeah.
I don't want you to go too crazy.
You don't want to go too crazy, but then I also don't want to look too soft in front of everyone.
Yeah.
I like to be the leader of the team and lead always by example. Not going to get a Jack and Coke. That's where I kind of like.
First of all, I don't drink Jack and Coke. I drink Knob and Coke.
What's that?
Not creek, it's an iceberg.
Oh, it's an iceberg.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's what you get at the turn?
That's what I got at the turn.
Yeah.
The turn is open. Yes.
All right. Just clarifying. All right. I think we should end this with some rapid fire questions.
Let's do it. I love rapid fire.
Steve is he's always on his toes. He can kind of handle these.
Quick-witted.
I have a notepad, but there's nothing on it.
So what are your questions?
First things first, are you picking sweet or salty? If you had to pick one cheat meal?
Salty.
And what's the salty?
Probably potato chips.
Golf or working out?
Golf.
If you could be a journalism for ESPN or stick with your job now, what would you do?
Oh, wow. I love my job. I think it'd be pretty cool to be a journalist. I'd love to be like a basketball play-by-play announcer, like Mike Breen. I think that'd be pretty sweet. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the game of basketball. I enjoy the strategy of basketball. That'd be awesome.
So you could coach the Celtics or UConn basketball. Who's it going to be?
It's UConn.
Wow.
Yeah, like if I could retire and be an assistant coach on the UConn men's basketball team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bobby Hurley, great example of a guy came from a coaching royalty. His dad was like the greatest high school college coach ever in the Hall of Fame. His brother was the starting point guard at Duke, got drafted 7th in the NBA. This guy, like, was depressed at Seton Hall, good player in his day, basically had to start as an assistant coach in high school and work all his way up. You know, built a team in New Jersey to be state champions, then went to Wagner, which is not known as like a basketball powerhouse. Built that. Actually, his brother got in an accident and his NBA career came and was assistant for Bobby. Great. So builds Wagner, gets recruited to, runs Rhode Island.
URI?
URI.
Yeah.
Builds that into Atlantic 10, Atlantic 10, went to the NCAA. Then gets a job at the UConn, and the rest is history. Talk about a guy who, like, people would assume, oh, your dad was like, I mean, honestly, his dad's up there with like Mike Krzyzewski, but had to work his way up from the bottom and earned it.
That's how we do it right there.
So I respect that guy.
Thank you for coming.
That was fun. Let's do it again.
That was good. Thank you, team, for joining in. I mean, I don't know what's going to come right now, but this is the first ever episode. Follow GriffC124 for more podcasts. The goal is once a week. You keep commenting and liking and sharing this, more videos to come.